Music and the arts can often be the first areas to succumb to financial problems, war, and the more recent pandemic, as they do not offer tangible benefits. As according to academic Lee Marshall, music may not be as highly valued by people as commonly assumed. Whole decades and eras can go without artistic or musical expression, with nothing left but a war or one of society's many fallacies to associate with the period. But some musicians have decided to challenge that. Meet Tanner and Cara, commonly known as KLACEY, two local musicians on the Gold Coast, one of which is an emerging musician and the other which runs a well-established band in the community. Tanner Macdonald founded a local band called the Dirty Bassman. The band was founded around 2021 at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, which made it very hard to enter the live music scene on the Gold Coast. Tanner founded the Dirty Bassman as he wanted to get serious about performing and making music, as his previous band Queen Street broke up due to a lack of members and direction. Since the Dirty Bassman's debut in 2021, the band has transformed into a well-established local band on the Gold Coast, which performs regular gigs at popular venues such as Vinnie's Dive Bar, The Bunker, and others throughout the Gold Coast and into outer Brisbane. The Dirty Bassmans now have their own dedicated fan base following. Throughout 2021 and into 2022, the Dirty Bassman started to get quite a few paid gigs, as Tanner himself described.
I think the high was a period last year between June to October. Those few months, especially in the Dirty Bassmans, were probably some of the best, because we started to really gain a following then.
Tanner described this as a high in his career. Due to Tanner's persistence to re-enter the live music scene, these could be considered traits of the Hope Action theory, as he has gone straight back into the industry despite the pandemic hindering live music across the world. Tanner described his career journey as,
I'm like semi-professionally and professionally probably started at Kebra, where did the Cert 3.
As he had formal training, having completed a TAFE Certificate 3 in music, but for the most part Tanner considers himself self-taught. On the other hand, local emerging artist KLACEY is receiving formal education and is currently studying for a bachelor's degree in popular music. KLACEY started experimenting with various musical instruments and singing at a young age, and has now developed into an emerging artist on the Gold Coast. KLACEY started to get serious about her work during 2021 when she first moved to the Gold Coast from Sydney. She started by busking her songs on the streets, which attracted both positive and negative attention from her audience. In terms of the highs and lows of both KLACEY and Tanner, Tanner's lows were disputes between band members and even band members leaving.
The lows, probably when we lost Vonnie. That was pretty stressful because we didn't know if we wanted to keep going. We didn't know if we wanted to go through the whole thing of finding another bass player and then showing them our weird.
Tanner mentioned his worry about finding a new band member which would accept their, quote, weird. This might have been a factor to the Dirty Bassman's success, as Bridgestock described successful emerging artists as, quote, demonstrating an unusual combination of skills. The Dirty Bassmans had found their niche. As things became more bitter, the band dispute started to take a toll on personal friendships between band members.
Damien and I would get together once a week, once a fortnight, to just sit down and have dinner, and we wouldn't talk about the band. We would usually start a conversation by saying, let's not talk about the band. Yeah. Because the more we spoke about it, the more we would fight with each other about it.
Despite the lows, the Dirty Bassmans have experienced a great deal of opportunities in the past few months. Even with a lack of band members, Tanner still persisted on getting back into the live music scene. KLACEY experienced a different type of lows. Being a solo artist, she didn't have to deal with the hassle of band members. KLACEY described her lows as being,
probably one of the lower parts of my career would be a couple years back when I was still in school and I was writing all these songs and I wasn't gigging yet, and I was mostly just busking on the street in Surfers Paradise, and I wasn't sure where to go, and I knew I wanted to progress and go further. I just wasn't sure how to get there.
Then elaborating further,
times when I was busking and I'd have people trying to mess with my equipment and doing crazy stuff like that, and I remember just feeling so violated. I felt like a joke sometimes.
In an article by Samuel Cameron, he explains why busking is bad for everyone, for reasons such as noise pollution and lack of steady pricing. These may be some reasons for KLACEY's lows while busking, as she described this part of her life as lacking direction, nor being able to financially sustain her career. KLACEY's highs were very similar to Tanner's, as she experienced highs when she started to get recognition in the community through gigs and music awards.
Right now is a high for me. I'm about to be performing with my band for the first time at a gig at Billy's Dive Bar, and I've also got a couple other things in the works.
In terms of financially and artistically sustaining careers, KLACEY works a part-time job while studying, gigging, and plans her finances.
Financially, I would say, like, I obviously have a part-time job while studying and just, you know, saving up and putting it towards something.
She saves her money and puts it towards making her music. KLACEY describes her artistic side of her career as...
I feel like it's just always there. It's just always running in my mind, no matter what I'm doing.
On the other hand, Tanner financially sustains his career off...
merch. Probably important. Yeah.
And keeping costs low.
Small projects, like to fund the album, you record in a bedroom like this. Yeah. Or you do a live take at a live venue.
Tanner also made money off gigs, stating...
On a good night, probably $250.
During the interview, Tanner forgot to explain how he artistically sustains his career, so it can be assumed off other comments made during the interview that...
people. I like...
This, in my opinion, is Tanner's way of artistically sustaining his career. In terms of both Tanner and KLACEY communicating the value of music to the non-arts public, Tanner described it as...
Compare it to like reading a really good book. You know, some people read a book and they can get like the whole story and they can feel really touched by it. Music is just another means of that. You know, it's still a story with emotion, but it's just in a different format.
KLACEY noted a similar experience, stating...
I would say one of the things I really love about music is connection and feeling accepted. I remember when I started writing songs, it was often when I was going through like a rough patch. Now I write songs all the time, but the inspiration came from what was going on at school or like something I was going through. And I just thought it was really amazing that music was a way for me to cope and for me to understand myself, my own feelings. So I think even non-musicians, anyone who's out there struggling through something, music is just everywhere. Everybody listens to it, everybody knows what it is. And even if you're not a musician, I think you can always find a way to relate to it or have a connection.
Notably mentioned, the connections made and feelings that are felt by musicians are very relatable to that of the audience. In terms of advice which both musicians would give to an undergraduate musician,
go to gigs, go to the busy ones, go to the ones where you know no one else is going to be there either. Be friendly, have a personality too, you know. Have your little traits because that surprisingly will get you pretty far. And just don't be a dick.
KLACEY gave similar advice, stating,
I would say just keep practicing, keep writing songs, keep getting better, and just always be confident. Learn to accept yourself for who you are and your identity as a musician, and lean into the unique parts of yourself that are going to make you stand out, because that is so important, and that will also build your confidence. And confidence is a huge driver of getting opportunities and putting yourself out there in the right place at the right time to get opportunities and to meet the right people to progress in your career.
In conclusion, I would consider Tanner to identify as having a boundaryless career, as he and his band will take any opportunities he can get regardless of the circumstances. This is mainly due to the fact that the Dirty Bassmans do not have a linear career in the arts. However, as mentioned, they take all opportunities, big or small, even if there are better opportunities available. It is evident that Tanner has got an economic focus on his career, as he takes as many paid opportunities as his band can, and previously mentioned, sells merchandise and performs paid gigs. In terms of KLACEY's career, I believe KLACEY identifies with the planned happenstance learning theory, as according to Krumboldt's, people who identify with the planned happenstance learning theory often engage in, quote, a variety of interesting and beneficial activities, and remain, quote, alert to alternative opportunities. KLACEY has demonstrated this evidently, as she even states,
I also am aware that music career is not a linear thing that's just good all the time or bad all the time.
Special thanks to Kara and Tanner.